I spent $450 on this PC. From the outside, it's pretty disgusting. It's so nasty to the point that it actually has cobwebs. But I somehow flipped this computer, made a profit, and made it look so much better than before. This PC has an RTX 2070 and an Intel i5-8600K. For the price, it's actually really cheap in Australia for all these parts. It's in really dirty condition, but if we change the case and clean the PC, we can easily flip this for a profit. Before I took out any of the components, it was so nasty I had to wipe it down with a microfiber cloth before I could even touch this. This GPU has seen some better days. Let's take this out and get this cleaned up. The GPU actually got tangled on the CPU power cable. I really should have looked before I actually pulled it out. You can see some nasty stuff caked onto that GPU. One quick wipe with a microfiber cloth gets most of the dust off, but it kinda just went all over my cloth. The GPU that came in the PC is a Galax RTX 2070. This particular model has a lot of RGB, and in Australia it can be sold for around $300 to $400. To get this GPU as clean as possible, we're just going to use some alcohol wipes and wipe the entire thing. Wiping the GPU was actually really tedious. In the end, I think I got the GPU quite clean. You can see that the fans are actually transparent now, and the whole of the GPU just doesn't have any dust on it. This PC also came with a Wi-Fi adapter. The amount of dust on this entire computer is actually crazy. Like, I don't know how long this hasn't been cleaned for. Now it's time to unplug all these cables so we can take out the motherboard. I hate that I have to wipe my fingers every second because it's so dusty. The power supply that was in this computer is the Corsair CX750F RGB power supply. It's actually a pretty good power supply considering for the amount of money we spent on this computer. Now, I've got most of this cleaned and I'm going to attempt to take this motherboard out. I might have to take out the fans because they look like they're over the screw holes. The fans out, I've cleaned it up a bit, looks nice, and the fans itself are actually pretty good quality. Now the top fan's out, we can unscrew the motherboard and take it out. I thought it was going to be an easy process of removing the motherboard. It was not. So I tried taking off this fan and holy... This was just the beginning of all the pain this PC has caused me. So I took off the cooler and I cleaned it with like a toothbrush, and it took me about 20 minutes, it wasn't that bad. But the motherboard just wouldn't come out. It's going to be really hard to explain when there's no footage, but pretty much the motherboard standoffs were like stuck with the screws on the motherboard, which kind of caused the motherboard not to come out of the case. It literally took 2 days to take the motherboard out. No matter what I did, it just wouldn't come out. Eventually, after wriggling it for so long, it actually came out, thankfully, but it wasted like 2 days of my time. Anyways, back to the build. I took off the CPU cooler and we're reapplying thermal paste to it. And we're going to be using the anime thermal paste I got from Japan when I bought my 7800 X3D for my personal PC. According to online sources, it's actually like a pretty good thermal paste. So yeah, you got the extreme grease thermal paste. We're just going to be applying this for our cooler. I also just want to mention that these videos do take a lot of time and effort to make. I'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. So I was kind of like trying to put the CPU cooler back on, but it's like an old crappy one. And I don't know really how to because it's like janky as. Anyways, I struggled, but I somehow got it figured out in the end. This is a bit late, but I completely forgot to explain the motherboard and the RAM. So this is a Asus ROG Z370H motherboard. For the RAM, we've got 16GB of DDR4 3600MHz Kingston Fury. On the 2 days I was struggling to remove the motherboard, I went to Centacom, my local PC store, to buy a case. Centacom is great, they have all sorts of PC parts and they had a bunch of cool PCs on display. Anyways, I bought the Thermaltake View 270 Plus. This case only comes at 99 Australian dollars, and it has a crazy panoramic view and 3 pre-installed pretty good ARGB fans. First of all, let's open this case up and see what we have inside. And I think I messed up. The issue is that these fans use ARGB, and my motherboard doesn't have an ARGB header. Thankfully, the old PC has 3 fans that are actually pretty nice, so we're just going to replace those fans and use the Thermaltake fans another time. Oh my god, that took so long to get this stupid front panel off. It's so stiff on there. It's ridiculous. Anyways, we're going to unscrew these fans, and we got 3 of them, so we're going to be replacing the 3 fans that are already in the Thermaltake case.
After a while of wiping, we got these fans nice and cleaned up. Now it's time to replace the fans in here with these ones. But first of all, just to be sure these actually work, we're going to plug everything in with all the connectors on the motherboard and hopefully it works. So I kind of Frankenstein this, so hopefully when I turn it on, the fan should spin and glow. Ooh. There we go. There we go. They're actually quite quiet. Alright, now, it's supposed to be able to change colors. This is great. There we go. We got it working. Alright, now we're going to replace these. Whoa, these actually got crazy effects. This is great. Alright, so we're going to replace these fans, save these for another video, and hopefully get this working well. Okay, so all the fans are now plugged in. What we want to do is plug in the UI cables and the fan cables first before anything to do with the power supply. So what I did was with this RGB controller, I just stuck it onto here. The adhesive still stuck onto the metal, surprisingly actually, after all this dust and years. And we've plugged it up to this little controller switch that will change the RGB modes. And we're going to plug this into the power supply later, but all the fan RGB cables are plugged into this. And we're just going to put these cables to the side for now.
So now what we're going to do is going to plug in all the front header and UI cables. So first we've got the USB cable. This blue thing goes around to the front and plugs in to the motherboard. Make sure the notch is facing the right way so you don't break any pins or any plastic. Sorry about the angle here. I had to turn on flash so you could see better, and also my hand kind of like covers up the screen. But you pretty much just push it in, don't put too much force, and it should just plug in like this, nice and tight. Now we've got the HD audio cable. The HD audio cable plugs in usually at the bottom of the motherboard and it should say HD audio. Just be careful when plugging this in because it's really easy to bend pins. Here it is plugged in.
This other cable that it comes with, this is a USB-C cable up here, but unfortunately these motherboards don't support USB-C because this one's quite old. We're just going to leave this and just let it dangle around.
Next is the front panel connector. Unlike most cases, this case has the front panel connector in one big chunk, so it's a lot more simple. This plugs in right here where it says front panel. Similar to the HD audio connector, it's really easy to bend pins, so be really careful when plugging this in.
So we got all these cables up here from the front panel connected to the motherboard. What we're going to do, we're going to try cable manager and then plug in all the fan cables onto the fan hub.
What we have here is a fan hub that came with our original PC. This will help cable manage and make the PC look a whole lot nicer. I also don't want this lying around my house, so might as well use it.
The adhesive still works, so we just stuck it on here, and now let's just cable manage this and plug the fan header onto the motherboard. With our fan header, we're going to plug it in on the bottom. So what you want to do is look for the channel fan plug right here, and let's see if I can zoom in. This channel fan here, and get the fan cable, align it with the notch and just plug it in. Just push it in. There we go. The fan cable is tucked in, nice and clean. So now we've got all the fan cables and the UI cables all plugged in to the motherboard. So now technically everything should work. We just need to plug in the power supply.
The power supply can be quite scary. So first, plug in all the modular cables you'll need for the computer. So we'll need the motherboard, CPU and GPU and SATA power cables. Make sure they're all properly plugged in and then screw in the power supply. So with the power supply, make sure the fan is facing down and just slide it right in. To screw the power supply in, just make sure all 4 holes are aligned and just use ATX screws that are usually included either with the power supply or the case.
Now you've got a horrific mess of spaghetti noodles. So to deal with this, stay calm and keep things simple. So we've got the motherboard cable, PCIe GPU cables, CPU cable, and the SATA cables. First, let's start with the easy one, the motherboard cable.
The motherboard cable plugs in right here. You want to loop it around the back and make sure the notch is aligned with the little notch on the motherboard. Make sure it's firmly pressed in and clicked in and there's no wiggle room. Next, we've got the CPU cable. Usually on the top left, there should be a little plug-in for the CPU power. Look for the cable from your power supply that is labeled CPU, loop it around the back, and plug it in similar to the motherboard cable.
After you've plugged that cable in, try your best to keep things neat and tidy. Now for the back, we want to power the RGB controller. So this SATA and controller gets powered by, where'd it go? The SATA power cable. This one's simple, you just plug in the SATA with the SATA power cable. Done. I'm going to try my best to cable manage things and hopefully get this thing looking nice. So I've got things decently cable managed, and now I think it's time to install the GPU. So I've removed 2 of these here. What we're going to do, you want to flip the switch right here. It's already flipped. Line up the GPU with the slot. Just put some light pressure on it. There we go. The GPU clicked and it's nice and in there. Now you just want to screw these 2 screws here and get this GPU secured.
Now, just plug in the 2 PCI cables just like this. The PC is done. Now it's time to install Windows and then sell it.
So the computer is now done and installed, and my customer actually wanted their M.2 SSD in this computer and sold to him. So we're selling this for $700. We're using their 2TB M.2 SSD. We've got Windows installed and we've got everything installed on this computer. So pretty much we're done and we're going to get rid of this computer.
There we have it. I spent a total of $550 on this PC and I'm selling it for $700, which gives us a $150 profit. In the end, I think this PC turned out great. What sort of other builds are you looking for in the future? Drop a comment below. And again, these videos do really take a lot of time, so make sure to subscribe for more videos. Anyways, until then, I'll see you next time.